Things that keep us awake at night is the demograph. On the one hand, the demograph is a huge opportunity. Median ages, and for a lot of these countries we invest in are less than 25, so there's a huge opportunity. The flip side of that is that are the countries structurally designed to ensure that they can meet the needs of this demograph in order to deliver the outsized returns that we all expect. You've had a situation in Burkina Faso recently, in the last few weeks, where you've had a change of president because he essentially tried to change the constitution and stay on. We're seeing similar unrest in Togo over the weekend, where a similar situation has transpired. You have things like Al-Shabaab in Kenya, which has had a huge impact primarily in the tourism space, which is a significant portion of their growth. I mean, Nairobi, Kenya itself is becoming the epicenter for development and growth in East Africa. The East African community seems to finally cracked the process of bringing a community together in order to create a common market a little bit more successfully than what Europe is doing at the moment. So on the one hand, the investment opportunities in Kenya we see are amongst the best in Africa, and these are in financial institutions, in property, and in construction. The flip side of that is that there's some negative press which tends to go against the grain, but we see through a lot of these things. We try and understand and distill exactly what the implications are, what the policy responses are, and then adjust our investments accordingly.
When you look at investables, are there any sectors or any countries that you would stay away from on principle?
Not on principle. There's no reason to stay away from any sector on principle. We don't have any investors who would do so. There are some sectors which are more difficult to monetize than others. The mining sector is significantly more difficult because a lot of the better investments in mining revolve around infrastructure, and that's more challenging for a fund like ours. Other people are more than happy to get involved. But no, I mean, to make an investment in a country where there was no legal means of repatriation of investments, that would be a challenge. To make investments in a country where the legal processes weren't robust enough for us to get comfortable, those sort of things make it challenging for us. I mean, we'd actually, for us, we don't actually hold the money. The money is held by third parties, and those third parties have to be comfortable that anybody who either invests in us or anywhere we invest meets the international standards, and that's what drives us.
So apparently the countries that are posting the biggest gains in terms of the stock exchanges are the smaller countries, at least in the last year. I believe Tanzania and Rwanda were up 11% or more this year. Mm-hmm. How do you take advantage of that kind of growth?
We invest. So we are invested in both of those countries. But it's not apples and oranges. It's not apples and apples because they're significantly smaller markets, and there are one or two companies in each of those countries which have done exceedingly well. So the stock exchanges are not necessarily a broad reflection of everything that's going on. But at the same time, in taking a step back and looking at investment opportunities, in the case of Rwanda, you're talking about, I guess, probably one of the best run countries in Africa, with a clear focus on creating a business environment that allows the private sector to flourish. And to go to Rwanda, it's clean, it's very easy to set up a business, it's completely transparent, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, on the one hand. In the case of Tanzania, it's much more a case of it's essentially opening up its market, joining the international EAC, which is the East African Community, as a full member, which then allows it to benefit from the significant growth in the other markets that exist. So I think those are two reasons why those two countries are doing well, and as I said, we are invested, and we expect them to continue to do well.
Talk to me about the story going forward. Obviously, the Chinese are very heavily involved in Africa, and I believe you said that the good thing about the Chinese being involved in Africa is that it brings a healthy competition in terms of different countries getting involved. Is there a price to pay, would you say, for that relationship at all? And where are we going to see the next wave of competition coming from?
Well, I mean, I think the Chinese investor is as discerning as one from the West, outside of the fact that they they need goods and services, they need raw materials, they're prepared to do things slightly differently, which is they might be prepared to build infrastructure rather than pay cash, which is needed. And so, as I said, so the discerning African with the asset now doesn't have somebody prepared to pay cash, but has somebody to actually deliver services, and so can make an informed decision about the two. You are seeing investors coming in from South Korea, from India, from Japan, are all on the continent now, because if you're looking at the very long term, you've got top line growth in terms of population of 3%. If you had a brand in Asia and you wanted to look for new markets, why would you go to Europe, which has an aging population? I think, and I have to double check the statistics, but I think there were more children born in Nigeria than the whole of Western Europe last year. So if you were selling Pampers, where would you go? It's just, I just think that if you look beneath the facts as a global investor, where you have 16% of the world's population growing at 3% a year, you would be mad not to take a good, hard, long look at the returns available and also the competition. Because I think that when you travel the African continent, you see a lot of brands that you wouldn't necessarily see in Europe, because, why not? I mean, there's less competition, and if the quality is just as good, why not? And so we're seeing, I wouldn't say competition, it's just the discerning investor who's looking for opportunities to deliver returns to his shareholders. If you're dispassionate about where it should be, then Africa should be part of your portfolio.